Bienvenue sur chaîne de Webjetclouds. Bien plus qu'une agence web, nous mettons nos différents services. Consultant, expertise technologie et numérique, service à la personne. Sans plus attendre, je laisse la parole à Magali, notre assistant virtuel qui va présenter le sujet du jour.
Subject: Proposal for Guided Reflection and Experimentation on the Evolution of Therapeutic Housing and Couple Relationships. Hello. I am writing this letter to share a personal, human, and constructive reflection on the possible evolution of therapeutic housing and social support services related to the development of couple relationships. Before sharing these thoughts with you, I would like to briefly explain my personal journey. Several years ago, I experienced a significant crisis in my mental health. I was first treated in the psychiatry department at Henri EY Hospital, then gradually received care within the Paris Psychiatry and Neurosciences University Hospital Group, GHU, particularly in the Pouchet Day Hospital, HDJ unit. Today, in 2026, it has been approximately 11 years since I began receiving care within the Parisian public psychiatric system. Thanks to the work of the medical and social teams and the government public service, my overall health has gradually improved over time. Throughout this personal journey, I also taught myself a range of skills in IT, digital technology, and organizational management. In 2023, I founded my company, Webjetclouds, which specializes in IT consulting and web development. Alongside this personal and professional journey, a romantic relationship gradually developed. It wasn't simply a chance encounter, but rather two people with different backgrounds who found each other, understood one another, and chose to be together within an already complex and relatively rare life context. This situation led me to reflect on an issue that many organizations likely already face in the field. Today, therapeutic housing is primarily designed around the model of the single person. However, in some cases, a stable relationship can potentially become a factor in gradual improvement, greater emotional stability, reduced isolation, improved daily organization, better budget management, gradual empowerment, shared motivation, looking toward a more stable future. For several months now, we have been gradually observing certain parameters in a personal and experimental manner. Examples observed: gradual improvement in financial management, reduction in unnecessary expenses, a calmer and more positive mindset, greater stability in daily life, gradual progress in the relationship, ability to adapt despite certain difficulties. Of course, there are also ups and downs, as in any human relationship or marriage. I should also note that certain areas, particularly those involving mental or physical health and depth, do not fall directly within my professional expertise. This reflection, therefore, does not represent scientific truth, but rather a perspective on human and social dynamics drawn from real-world experience. On a personal level, I have also gone through a difficult divorce marked by conflicts, manipulation, betrayals, and situations that were very complicated on a human and family level. Some situations even required the intervention of witnesses and legal proceedings. This experience also allowed me to see to what extent some people can sometimes use or circumvent administrative, social, or legal systems in an inconsistent or abusive manner, while others, on the contrary, try to work on themselves, their health, and their personal stability. During this period, while I was myself going through significant difficulties, I also had to deal with complex legal and administrative procedures. At that time, I was on the RSA before becoming a self-employed entrepreneur in the field of IT and digital development. Despite legal aid, which I had assumed would be more accessible and protective for people in need, I was subsequently hit with fees and financial obligations that I found difficult to understand at the time. Looking back, this also led me to reflect on the disparities in treatment, administrative hurdles, and inequalities that some people may experience depending on their financial or social situation or their level of access to information. I would like to clarify, however, that the purpose of this letter is not to accuse any one person in particular, but rather to share a personal experience that has contributed to my current reflections. on human, family, social, and institutional challenges. Our current situation has evolved gradually. At first, visits every 3 days, then weekly visits, and finally, almost constant presence after several months. To date, there is still no official permanent arrangement or official keys, allowing for a full move-in precisely to maintain a gradual and responsible approach. Update, May 2026. To date, our relationship has lasted for about 7 months. Looking back, I also notice a human reality that can be found practically everywhere in society. At first, many situations are difficult to build, stabilize, and understand, but over time, with experience, adaptation, and organization, certain things gradually become easier to manage. This logic also seems to apply to human relationships, emotional stability, the organization of daily life, and the evolution toward a more responsible and structured life together. I also think it's becoming important to reflect on certain broader social issues that many people are observing today. An increase in separations and divorces, financial difficulties, work-related stress, an imbalance in the division of household responsibilities, the isolation of many people, educational challenges, an increase in certain delinquent behaviors among some young people, a significant decline in the birth rate, a gradual loss of moral and social guidelines in various areas of society. Many people already know that financial issues, work, daily stress, and a lack of balance in family life are often major sources of tension in couples. Many families and single parents also face complex situations, sometimes with little emotional, social, or organizational stability. I believe these issues deserve to be examined with seriousness, compassion, and realism in order to better understand certain current trends in society. On a personal note, I am also the father of a child who will be about 12 years old in 2026, which further motivates me to reflect on issues related to the future, education, family stability, and the evolution of our society. I also observe, like many people today, certain growing difficulties in overall academic performance, educational benchmarks, and the attention spans or organizational skills of some young people. These observations are now widely visible and discussed in many areas of contemporary society. It is precisely for this reason that a progressive, evolving, and supported framework could potentially be beneficial in certain therapeutic and social programs. This is why I believe that a model of supervised transition could potentially be explored in certain programs. Individual therapeutic housing, supervised therapeutic housing for couples, public housing, gradual transition to independent housing or homeownership depending on the health status and stability of each individual. This approach could function as a process of gradual experimentation, inspired by methods used in the field of computer science, alpha-beta testing adjustments, stabilization validation, or failure. In some cases, one partner may progress more quickly than the other, while the other may have greater difficulty adapting. This therefore requires time, observation, and multiple evaluation criteria. I also believe that after approximately 6 months of genuine relational stability, a gradual disclosure or discussion with the relevant agencies could be considered within a clear, transparent, and responsible framework. This reflection is in no way intended to circumvent CAF rules, the regulations of therapeutic facilities, or administrative obligations. On the contrary, the objective would be to potentially propose a more gradual, more humane intermediate framework that is better adapted to the realities observed in the field. The idea could be to consider in certain specific cases, and with the approval of the relevant teams, a pilot program, voluntary follow-up, a progressive observation protocol, clear evaluation criteria, and the option to discontinue if the situation becomes unfavorable. Among the parameters that could potentially be monitored: emotional stability, autonomy, daily life organization, budget management, social integration, residential stability, relapse prevention, relationship quality, overall life trajectory. Of course, this approach would not be suitable for all situations and would require an Individualized assessment based on each person's health status, emotional stability, and therapeutic goals. Respect for mutual consent, psychological safety, and the therapeutic framework would, of course, remain essential. The role of the Paris Psychiatry and Neurosciences University Hospital Group, GHU, as well as therapeutic and social services is precisely to support complex, evolving, and sometimes atypical life journeys. Through my company Webjetclouds, I already share content on social media, primarily focused on personal development, useful technology, artificial intelligence, organizational optimization, and reflections on the changes in today's society. Certain digital and analytical tools can also help track various parameters of social, organizational, and behavioral change in a more structured way. I am writing this letter to you today for a reason. I sincerely believe that it is becoming important to reflect on certain human and social adaptations before certain issues become more difficult to manage in the future. With personal and professional hindsight, I also observe that collaborative human management often remains more effective than isolated management, even on a small scale. When several people collaborate within a clear framework with appropriate communication and shared goals, the organization generally becomes simpler, more stable, and more effective over time. On a personal level, I have already managed to gradually improve my own budget and organizational management, both personally and professionally, while handling multiple projects simultaneously and without full automation. This leads me to believe that with specialized teams, social workers, medical facilities, and appropriate tools, certain human experiments could be even better supervised and easier to manage than we imagine today. Today, as president of Webjetclouds, I am already working to manage several aspects of this personal and professional reflection, notably by leveraging digital tools and artificial intelligence to analyze multiple parameters
in parallel.
This letter is, above all, a proposal for constructive and potentially experimental reflection aimed at gradually improving certain existing systems in the interest of those being supported, while maintaining a serious, regulated, and responsible framework. My view, before it is too late and certain situations continue to worsen. I also believe that everyone within their own field of activity has their own methods, experience, and way of contributing to the betterment of society. Today, we still have a choice: to remain isolated on our own, or to gradually learn to collaborate better, work together, and evolve collectively using modern tools, including artificial intelligence, while keeping humanity, common sense, and responsibility at the center of our decisions. P.S. I even did the final May 2026 review for Josephine Marcelin. You wanna know? Learn and understand, shushing face, thinking face, brain, because I'm in a relationship with her. Alexon Balangue, President, Webjetclouds, IT consultant and web agency.